All right, you guys, I apologize. This one is going to be kind of wordy. So here's what my note page looked like in the end, and I write pretty small. So Stephanie, I know you like to write large. This is going to be difficult, okay? Just a heads up. All right, so the title of this piece is Electronic Superhighway by Nam June Paik. The year is 1995, and this is a mixed media installation. We are going to watch just a quick video where it's kind of showing you, I don't know, there's video on all these pieces and there's the artist talking. It's really hard not to show. This one's not going to be the artist talking, just a video of what the piece actually looks like. Okay, I just noticed watching that for like the millionth time that Florida, you can see it, Florida's like sinking into the floor or the ocean, which is kind of interesting. All right, so for form, I'm sure you guys have figured out how you would describe this for form. But what I wrote down was it's got neon lighting outlining the 50 states. You can see most of them here. On the side wall, you have Alaska and Hawaii. Overall, it is 313 TV monitors that make up this piece. And they're all different sizes too. You can see where they're small and large to like fit inside the shapes. Each state has a separate video feed that stereotypes that state. So you don't have to write this. I wrote it just because I thought it was interesting, but you don't need to write what the video feed is for each state. But just to give you some idea, so Kansas is clips of Wizard of Oz. Kentucky has the Kentucky Derby. Iowa, that's what it was zooming in on the end, has presidential candidates. Alabama is Martin Luther King's speeches. Idaho is pictures of potatoes. Missouri, there's a movie called Meet Me in St. Louis, so it's showing clips of that movie. And then New York, I think, is the most interesting. So the monitors for New York State project a live feed of the visitors in the gallery piece. So the overall piece becomes interactive because as you're walking and as you're watching, the video footage of you is what is showing for New York. So I think that's really interesting because I know when I've been to New York, what I think of is just people. I think of just mass crowds of people walking and moving. So that's what it's actually showing for New York. The Kansas clips of Wizard of Oz, I grew up in Florida. So when I told my friends in high school that I was going to go to college in Kansas City, they didn't know that was Missouri. And they all just thought I was just going to go move on to farm fields. That's just, so these are just, you know, ideas that we have in our head if you've never been to these places. All right, so here's another work by Nam June Paik. So do you see any similarities? Whoa, I don't know why I went all the way back. What similarities can you make? Right, TV monitors. Very different artworks, but TV monitors. So we're going to highlight some parts of the note page. That's very fuzzy. That's okay. All right, the medium of video has offered artists new ways of conveying old as well as contemporary themes. One of the leading exponents of video art is the Korean-born composer, performer, and visual artist Nam June Paik. So I highlighted that top part about him. He studied philosophy, aesthetics, and music, blah, blah. And then we're going to highlight in the late 1960s, Paik began to create video sculptures. Right, if you look at that previous piece I just showed you, that's a video, it's a sculpture that is incorporating video. Same thing for our installation. Video sculptures consisting of television monitors arranged in significant shapes and projecting specific controlled images. Okay, we don't need to read the rest, that's okay. All right, so you highlighted that context about him. Some more context is he is originally from Korea, and while he grew up there, he watched a lot of American TV. So that's kind of his upbringing. He moved to the US in the 60s, and you don't need to write this next part because you already highlighted it. He became one of the first to use television as an art form. Did we highlight that? Yeah, begin to create, well, something like that, that's okay. So this work, even though he made this in the 90s, right? Yeah, 95, this is actually inspired by his arrival to the US. What was that landscape like as compared to his native land? And then at that time, when he moved here in the 60s, superhighways or just highways are new, and they're being advertised as a way for Americans to see the country. There is the slogan that said, "See the USA from your Chevrolet." It's just a cheap way for American families. Y'all pack in the car and drive around the US. So he's fascinated with this American vastness, diversity, and the different characteristics of the individual states. And he also found America really large compared to the native Korea, which is reflected in the huge scale of the work. He's making this large because it seemed very large to him when he got here. All right, so why the neon? Oh, I have the function up there. No. Okay, why the neon? What is significant? What's the meaning about it? And again, it's all relating to that time period. He's making a comment on the influx of media and technology. He's kind of saying we need something flashy to get our attention. And I feel like that still relates today, especially as dependent as most people are on screens. I feel like as a teacher a lot, I got to like stand up and put on a big show and do a big dance, or I'm just going to lose everybody, right? So we need something quick, something fast, something flashy to get our attention. Oh, so here's, the examples that he was thinking of, like driving throughout the US. These are typical images you would see. So the neon outlines recall signs that are viewed from the road, such as motel or diner signs. The flashing images, that's why I wanted to show you the video, because you can't see the flashing images unless you watch the video. The flashing images, it's meant to evoke what the landscapes would look like as seen from a moving car. So as you're driving, you're seeing all this stuff kind of like whip and move by. Oh, there's my diner. My animations are all off on this one. The images that he chose, so the video feed that he chose, all reflect pop culture and movies that define the way Americans saw themselves. And that still relates today, like what I said about Kansas and what I said about New York. Which one was potatoes? The potato state. There's function. All right, so the function of this, he's examining how cultural and geographical stereotypes are created and perpetuated, right? It's by the media. About the prevalence and the power of the mixed messages transmitted by television. I mean, we could even relate that to the Chiefs game the other day. I don't know if anybody watched it or if you guys heard about the booing and then the different interpretations that people are saying about the booing. Is this just how media is portraying it and taking it all out of hand? Or all of the protests? Everyone's upset about all the violence that's coming out from the Black Lives Matter protests, but no one is depicting any of the peaceful protests, right? The majority of the protests are peaceful, but it's just the violence that's on the media, and that's what we're hearing about. That's it. It's media. All right, this piece, this is just another example of his. So this is what he has on display in Chicago. If you go to Chicago at the Art Museum there, he did a whole series of families. So he would have grandparents, and they were all made out of like really old radios from like the 40s and these old electronics. And then the parents, and they were made out of newer electronics. And this one's called Baby. And that baby is made out of, I think, computer and TV monitors that were like really new for the time when he made it. But he suggested with this series that technology is both a product of human innovation and a potential cause of our retreat from reality. And I just think it's interesting. This is made in 1995, and he started doing this in the 60s, and it's still so relevant today. I can relate very much to that. Great job.